I am making a Gishki deck profile. The main reason I am building this is because I finally managed to get everything for the deck. And it's one of those decks that's so old that nothing was once per turn. Which, if I remember correctly, there's only 2 once per turns in the entire deck. There's a lot of there's once per turn, but not hard once per turns, I mean. So, like, an example, you can use Gust Kraken every time it's ritual summoned. So if you can ritual summon 5 times in a turn, you get rid of your opponent's entire hand. But the only 2 hard ones per turns with this deck are Grimness and one of the spells, I believe it's called Focused Aqua Mirror. And that's only its grave effect. But I just love how you can just keep using their effects over and over and over. And anyway, I did test my deck at locals, and I got second to last with the deck, but I also didn't know what I was doing, whereas now I kind of have a better idea. Which, starting off with the monsters, I play 3 copies of Gishki Grimness. Gishki Grimness has the effect that if you ritual summon exactly 1 water ritual monster, Grimness can be the entire thing you need for it. So you can use monsters at levels equals 6, or you can use just Grimness for Gishki Gust Kraken. But the other effect is when it's normal or special summoned, you can special summon a Gishki monster from your deck except for another Grimness. However, when you use this effect, you can only attack with ritual monsters for that turn. But that doesn't usually matter, because usually you are either setting up your turn 1 board or taking every card out of your opponent's hand. But the unsummoned is the only hard ones per turn of Grimness, which is just summoning another one. Which I understand why they had to make that once per turn, because otherwise Grimness would make this deck dumb. Then I play 3 copies of Gishki Vision. Gishki Vision has the same effect as Grimness, where it can be the entire tribute for a ritual summon. But its other effect is you can discard from your hand to add a Gishki ritual monster from your deck to your hand. Then on the note of Vision, I play 3 copies of Gishki Shadow. Gishki Shadow has the effect that you can discard. It has the same effect as Vision, except instead of adding a ritual monster, you add a ritual spell. Then I play 3 copies of Gishki Abyss. Gishki Abyss has the effect that when it's summoned, you can add a Gishki monster that has 1,000 less defense from your deck to your hand, except for another Abyss. Then for the ritual monsters, I play 3 copies of Eva Gishki Gust Kraken. Gust Kraken has the effect that whenever it's ritual summoned, you look at up to 2 cards your opponent has in their hand, choose one of them to shuffle it back in the deck. So like you can choose 2 cards in your opponent's hand, and they could be something like Ash Blossom or I'm trying to think of a deck, or Soul Eating Overraptor. You can put the Overraptor back in the deck, and then, although I don't know why you would reveal an Ash with this when they'd probably already ashed you. Then I play 1 copy of Eva Gishki Mind August. Mind August has the effect of when it's ritual summoned, you can target up to 5 cards in either player's graveyard, or in any graveyard, I mean, and then shuffle them into the deck. Honestly, I was thinking about taking Mind August out with another one of the spells for 2 more copies of another spell, and I will talk about that when I get to it. Then I play 3 copies of Eva Gishki Nerimanos. Nerimanos has the effect that when it's ritual summoned, you can target 1 water monster in graveyard, special summon it, and then if your opponent activates a monster effect while you control this card, you can return a You can return a ritual monster from your field to your hand to negate that monster effect if you destroy it. Alright, destroy it. You return the ritual monster to your hand, and if you do, you shuffle that negated monster back into the deck. So an example being, if your opponent activates Soul Eating Overraptor effect to send either add or send from deck, you can activate Nerimanos effect, negate Overraptor's effect, and put it back in the deck. Don't know why I'm choosing Overraptor. It's just the first starter I can think of. The other starter I can think of is the Vanquish Soul starter. That's a warrior. Then for the last of the monsters, I play 3 copies of Gishki Zailgigas. Zailgigas has the effect of you can pay 1,000 life points, or once per turn you can pay 1,000 life points, draw a card, reveal it, and if it's a Gishki monster, you can shuffle 1 card on the field back into the deck. I just like that because if you draw a Gishki monster, you can non-targeting shuffle a monster from into the deck. Which, one thing I actually did at my locals was my opponent had summoned a Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, or locals, and testing. And I summoned Zailgigas, I activated its effect, they went fine, and then drew, revealed Gishki Vision, and then shuffled back a Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. Moving on to the ritual spells, I play 1 copy of Gishki Photo Mirror. Photo Mirror just lets you ritual summon any Gishki ritual monster, but you have to pay 500 life points for every level that monster has. So if you summon Zailgigas, you pay 5,000. Gust Kraken, you pay 3,000. But you don't pay life points until after you summon that monster. So if Photo Mirror gets negated, you pay nothing. Which that's another thing I forgot to mention is that all of the Gishki ritual monsters in their effects include that they can be ritual summoned with any Gishki ritual spell. Then I play 2 copies of Gishki Necromir. Necromir is a card I would put to 1 just because it can recycle itself. And I would replace Necromir and Mind August with 2 more copies of Surface, which I will talk about that when I get to it. But Necromir just lets you ritual summon any Gishki ritual monster by attributing Gishki's monsters at its levels equal the exact level of the monster you're trying to summon, or by attributing 1 monster your opponent controls. And then while it's in the graveyard, you can target a Gishki monster that's in your graveyard, place that monster on top of your deck, and discard at the bottom of your deck. So you can use this to stack your deck with a Gishki monster before you use Zailgigas effect to then draw it, and then non-targeting shuffle back. Then for the main ritual spell you want is Gishki Aquamir. Aquamir lets you ritual summon any Gishki ritual monster by attributing Gishki you attribute monsters from your hand or field whose total level is equal to the level of the ritual monster you're trying to ritual summon. And then you can shuffle this card from your graveyard into your deck to then add a Gishki ritual monster from your graveyard to your hand. Which, that is the main thing you want with this, because of that effect, you can actually, with the right playing, you can actually take your opponent's entire hand back into the deck before they even have a turn. And then you can put a Narimanas, so if it's a monster, you can auto-negate it. Then, for the spells, I play 3 copies of Focused Aquamir. This just lets you add a Gishki monster from your deck to your hand. And then its hard once per turn effect is, during the end phase, if you have a water ritual, or a Gishki ritual monster, if you have a water ritual monster, I'm sorry, I'm butchering this. Then during the end phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard to set an Aquamir from your deck. So it can be Gishki Aquamir, Aquamir Meditation. As long as it is a Aquamir card other than Focused Aquamir, you can set it from your deck. Then for the generic spells, I play 1 copy of Surface. Again, I would play 3, but for now I only have the 1, and then I would replace Necromir and Mind August with 2 more copies. This lets you target a level 3 or lower fish, aqua, or sea serpent from your graveyard, special summon it, and face-up defense. Which, normally you would use it with Abyss, so you can just keep getting your searches. Then I play 3 copies of Ice Mirror. Ice Mirror lets you target a level 3 or lower water you control, special summon monster with the same name from your deck, but while you control that monster, you are locked out of your extra deck. Which, with this deck, doesn't really matter because you don't use your extra deck that often. Then I also play 3 copies of Salvage. Salvage just lets you target 2 water monsters with 1500 or less attack, and then add them from your deck, or from your graveyard to your hand. Then to finish off the main deck, I play 3 copies of Forbidden Droplet. Forbidden Droplet, I think, is a really good card. It's just not the best against Keshtira unless you've already dealt with their Arise Heart. But this just lets you send cards from your hand or field to the graveyard to then be able to negate the effects of monsters your opponent controls for each card you sent, and then depending on the card you sent, your opponent can't respond with those same cards. So, if you send a monster and a spell, your opponent can only respond with a trap. If you send a monster, spell, and trap, your opponent can't respond at all. And it negates their effects and also halves their attack until the end of the turn. Moving on to the extra deck. I realized with my extra deck I'm only ever using 4 cards because I kind of slapped the extra deck together and, well, I kind of realized there's a lack of level 4 monsters other than Gishki's Shadow. But for the monsters I do use, I play 1 copy of Area, the Water Charmer Gentle. This one lets you target a water monster in your opponent's graveyard, summon it to your field. And then if it's destroyed, you can add a water monster in deck to hand. Then I also play 1 copy of Marincess Coral Anemone. I would play 2 more, but I only have the 1. Most of the extra deck I'd actually end up replacing with Marincess Link monsters just because... Or replace with Water Link monsters, I should say. Most of that one's just Marincess. But the only effect that matters with how I have the deck built currently is that you can target a water monster in your grave other than... Or I believe it has to be the level. You target a water monster in your graveyard at 15 or less attack, summon it to zone this card points to. Which just lets you keep up using Gishki Abyss. Then I play 2 copies of World Sea Dragon Zealantis. Zealantis just has the effect that once per turn you can banish all monsters on the... Or is it once per turn? Yeah. Once per turn during your main phase, you can activate its effect to banish all monsters on the field, and then summon all water monsters back to the field. So, if you have something like Stealth Kraken in play, then it activates effect to banish all monsters, but it'll summon back all the monsters that were originally water. So if it was water when it left, it won't get to come back, as long as it was originally a water. But like I said, though, the rest of the extra deck I kind of messed up with. But it is 3 copies of Toad, which technically this can work against Dogmatica if they use Maximus effect that he sent to. So you can send 2 Toads, activate Toad's effect, put the Toads back in the extra deck, or add 2 water monsters in your grave you'd rather have in your hand. 3 Stealth Kraken spawn, 2 Stealth Kraken, and then finally 3 copies of Bahamut Shark. Like I said, all of the XE's monsters will end up coming out unless I decide to put Frog Engine into the deck, which I've honestly thought about doing that, because if I do, then I'll be able to summon Toad by itself, and then summon a dupe Frog off of Toad's effect, so that they can only attack, so they can't just run over to Toad. But there are versions of the deck I'm working on. I'm working on Incantation, Sprite, and Toad, or Frog. Which, once I have those, I'll do another Gishki deck profile. But if you have any ideas what I can do to improve the deck, any ideas decks like to be made in the future, or decks like to face each other, such as, like, Gishki versus Ice Barrier, comment down below and I will try to make those videos. As I know one person has requested Red Dragon Archfiend versus Stardust, but I'm having issues getting the Stardust cards. But once I have the Stardust cards, I will do Red Dragon Archfiend versus Stardust. Anyway, leave a comment if you have any suggestions. Thanks for watching.